Yeah, just show you what's going on. So this is Lake Ida, Delray Beach. Morning of Tuesday, April 25th. Real special place. Dog park over there. Dusty got to run around, smell some doggies. Oh, you know, somebody already set up camp. Oh, it looks a lot like my stuff. So this little patch got really beat up last night in the rain, or something was crawling through here. And of course, this was a cute little beach yesterday. I'm guessing storms have contributed to this mess. Oof. So I did notice a sign on the way in. It said no swimming and diving, whatever. But I already heard somebody go by on a boat or a jet ski or something like that. And I just think it's weird. It's like, oh, okay, you could get pulled by a boat on some skis, which you're not supposed to wade in. So I think they're just trying to reduce their liabilities. But who knows? Maybe there is some creatures, some gators or something. Hope not. Let's move this stuff out of the way. There's a pretty little shell. Can you see that? Let's get some sunlight. You can't really tell, can you? It's mother of pearl, I guess. Abalone. Can never get those straight. Let's start over there. Oh, cutie. Alright, so introduce the star of the show, Dusty the Diva. Clean your face, Dusty. Hello. Who the hell is this? Well, I don't know who just did that, but I don't see him. I'm gonna guess it wasn't an alligator. Good morning. Who is this? Blake Gould. Hi, Blake. Blake, where are you from? I'm in South Florida right now. I was supposed to take my mom to an appointment this morning, but my brother-in-law is going to do that. I said, okay. Sounds good. Michigan. Oh, still pretty cold up there, I'm guessing. You've got lakes. Where I live in New Mexico, there's one man-made lake pretty close to my house, but I never go there. There's no shade trees there. And so, if it's sunny out, oh, it's snowing. Yeah, well, I guess you can go and walk around the frozen lake. Oh, there's a baby coming up. It's Mama and Papa, I guess. Let's see what we got here. Hello, precious angels. Is there a third one? Yes, there is. Where's the rest of your tribe? Tekenic Lake. Oh, wow. Tekenic. I wonder what that means. Do you know what that means? Oh, there's just one left? Well, I hope you grow up big and strong, little ducky. I won't disturb you. I won't stop you from doing your thing. Dusty's gotten used to not chasing after everything that moves. Tech-e-nink. Michigan, I'm sure you know, but in case anybody else doesn't know, the future people that are going to tune in, Michigan had a transcontinental copper trade going on, and really pretty incredible. Thousands of years, and a lot of Bronze Age metal in Europe and I'm gonna say East Asia, maybe all of Asia, and what we call Middle East. A lot of their material actually came from the Michigan area, and I believe there's still copper up there. So, whatever the conditions were to make that. And my favorite story about that area is Burroughs Lake, where these folks would come and have an initiation ceremony where they would go into the cave, Burroughs Cave, and they would carve an image of themselves into a piece of stone, and they would leave that there, and then go back across the Atlantic, or however, and continue their lives. But a little piece of them was left in Burroughs Cave, and for a while it was considered a hoax. But whoever's going to hoax these hundreds upon hundreds, maybe even thousands of stone images, that's a lot for a hoax. But they have Egyptian headdresses and kind of druidic, um, stylized uh, headwear and stuff like that, and all different types of. Something's moving over here. I don't know. So yeah, look up Burroughs Cave, and I'm gonna guess. Shouldn't be snowing right now. All the fruit trees blossom. Oh no, contributing food charge. Copper's from Upper Peninsula. It's like 10, 12-hour drive. Ay. Hey, Indigenous Backfoot. Right on. Grand Rising. Indeed. Indigenous Backfoot. Um, do I know you? Are you my new friend from down here in Boynton Beach? I hope so. If you don't know about Lake Ida, this is a great spot to come to. As you can see, I'm enjoying it right now. My blanket that Dusty ruined. She's such a hairy dog. So now it's her blanket. Found a bunch of big rocks around your house that are copper ore and contain copper. Yeah, I would imagine that it's not just in the Upper Peninsula, but probably any industrial amount. Maybe it's coming from there. What you just have to be a pain in the butt, huh? Are you gonna come in? Here, let's take this off here. Good girl. Don't be scared of me, honey. Yeah, that's the thing, I took her in, I carried her in the water a couple of times, and now she's afraid. Honey, you're free to do what you want. But as itchy as you get, you might as well come on in. Yeah, see, there you go. You're itching right now. There's an itchy bitch right there, everybody. Oh, from the previous owner. Okay, so they hauled it over to this spot. Um, yeah, there's little tiny bits of copper around New Mexico. These weird little tubes that stick out of the sandstone. So I don't know what kind of conditions happen to was not enough to barely even fill a little medicine bag. But it is there. Yeah, Michigan, copper. I haven't been to Michigan yet, really. Have I driven through on my way to the East Coast? I don't think so. I think Ohio. I have been to Chicago. That's Illinois. Yeah, I don't know that Great Lakes area too well. But yeah, if it's snowing now. Oh, and that sucks. When the fruit trees start blossoming and then the snow hits again. That happened in New Mexico either last year or the year before. Didn't stop the apricots, but yeah, that could really mess with things. I thought nature knew what it was doing. What's going on? So what do we got here? It's a mango. We'll get this out of the water. And let's see. Do I smoke lotus flower? Not have tried lotus flower yet. Is it worth smoking? I know people used to eat the lotus. Well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I see a little hole over here. I think it'd be a good spot for a mango. Yeah, close enough. Well, right there. Right in there. Lotus flower. Are you having some lotus flower right now? Oh, are these lotuses out here? Looks good to eat. Mindat has it on their mat. Come stay anytime you want. Thanks, Blake. That's very cool. Looks good to eat. I don't know about eating that. These things have been washing up. I noticed that in the past few days. And this little area, it's funny because it was, obviously people have come here and cleared it out a little. But I was trying to sort of weave together the sticks along this edge so it wouldn't erode anymore. And now there's all this stuff here. So I don't even know what to do. We'll take this out. And so, was somebody eating that? Little shoots. Let's see about sticking that in the ground. Good luck, buddy. This looks like mint. Can't smell it. Yeah, I don't really know a lot of the vegetation growing here. It looks beautiful. You're a chef. If skin is intact, you can eat mango when it's ripe. Yeah, I haven't actually been eating any of it because a lot of them are green, and then the orange ones, I don't know, maybe I should. I've been moving them all over the place, though, taking the ones that are on the ground and then finding new spots for them, hopefully, to grow. That's kind of been my mission the past few weeks, just taking a lot of seeds. Anytime I find seeds that are, especially if they are landing on concrete or cement, whatever, parking lots, I figure let's gather those seeds up. And then, hey! This is not cool. Dusty! Come here. Hey! I have to chain you up. Come on. Thank you, doggy. Sit. Oh, that's good. That's good. Is that your new friend? You look a little peeved. You share. Yeah, there's no reason why that dog can't be here too. keep the green ones and leave on counter to ripen. Right on. Yeah, there's so many mango trees down here. There's a Lake Mangonia, which is a nice place. Ooh, this water's a little chilly. Man, the other day it was just right because the sun was out. Ooh, that's shriveled water. That's terrible. I'm gonna wait till the sun comes back. But yeah, I just wanted everybody to see. We lost a viewer. Was that Indigenous? Indigenous didn't tell me. Oh, good boy. He's a girl, so he's a she. Which reminds me, I heard a tune down here they're playing on the radio called She's a Boy. And I thought, that's really fitting for our time. Don't have too much to say about it, but with all the, gender flipping going on in the culture. This stream's not about that, though. And, you know, I know a couple people here and there who have the kind of gender fluid thing going on. And I say, whatever makes you happy. Sorry, Dusty. Yep, Dusty's gender is female. Her pronouns are she and it. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. What do you think, Dusty? Do you like pronouns? She doesn't care. Yeah, so last night it was raining. If you want to go and check out my rain walk video from last night, walking in the rain in Delray, there's a couple of those. So last night's was the 24th. And it was nice. Delray is so beautiful, even though they are trying their damnedest to turn it into just a yuppie playground, but it's still very cute. So I've been spending my nights here. I bop around. I was in Fort Lauderdale yesterday, and I almost was going to stay down there, but I didn't really scope out places to park, and since I'm not that familiar with it, I decided I'd come back up here, and I think I'm going to go to this crystal shop here in Delray. I went in the other day, I picked up a few things, but I may get some more. I have to see. I think I lost one of those crystals at the ocean, being a dum-dum. I wanted to take my new crystals to the ocean, and I thought I had 7, and now I have 6. So I'm going to take them back to the shop and weigh them, and if it weighs the same, then I guess I didn't get 7. And if it doesn't, well, it either went back to Yameya, the water goddess, or maybe a cool person found it and they're just going to be psyched. It's just going to be the crystal that changes their life. That would be cool too. So it's a loss for me, but it doesn't mean that there can't be some good that comes from it. But I really need to be more careful when I take my stones to the ocean, because yeah, you're not supposed to leave them there. You're supposed to cleanse them. Old World Florida guy, Dr. Narco Longo, has a bookstore South Florida Swan. Yes, he does. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's in Lake Worth. It's the dancing elephant, and you can check out one of my early videos was from a walkabout that I did at the Dancing Elephant, and I'll go back there again. I've gone there a few times. Yeah, both Dr. Longo and his brother are very cool. Yeah, so I have stopped by there a few times and we chat, and we share a little herb together, and that's cool. I'm glad that you like that his channel. It's one of my favorite upcoming channels. Which I guess it's not brand new anymore. He's probably been doing it a half a year or so. But that channel definitely, I find he's got a good perspective. And it's amazing, like, I'll just take for granted that people will know about other YouTubers that have similar content. But there was a few things I mentioned that he had never even heard of. And it's like, wow, it's getting so spread out that even people who are interested in the same things still have different branches that they follow the path. He's got 32,000 now. Yeah, yeah, that picked up quick. He also does some meetups, but I missed the last two actually. Those are nights that I usually go out to see some music, and so it's a toss up. I don't know. Yeah, I think if he did it on a Wednesday night, then I would be there. But that's cool that losing crystals sucks, but we don't own them. Just look after them for a short time. You're absolutely correct. They're how old are these things? They're old, I think. Yeah, look after them for a short time. But I'll tell you what, they can get kind of expensive to not own them, because you can't own anything in this world. You can only be the holder and the keeper. That's just reality. Ownership. Had he not heard of Lapidary Dave? I don't think before I mentioned it, but I had told him how my channel's an offshoot of his channel, which is hysterical because, Dave is like, 20 years younger than I am, but somehow I'm his sidekick or something. But yeah, Dr. Longo, he had heard of the New Earth channel and Sylvier, if you've ever seen that, which I don't know if she's still doing stuff, but she had some great videos early on about geopolymers and the cart ruts, which aren't really cart ruts, but they're these channels in the stone that resemble cart ruts, but then they take weird turns and stuff, and it looks like maybe cables used to be laid in there. I think on the island of Malta there's some. Is it a noisy bird here? But he hadn't heard of the Gary Shonung, what is it, Visions of Old Earth or something like that. It's a 4-part video series. If you haven't seen this, I really recommend this. Gary Shonung, Schonung, might be OE. Gary Shonung, something or other, Old Earth, 4 parts. There's no dialogue. It's just Google Maps, and this guy is going through and showing all these spots around the world that really resemble each other. These weird little square lakes, and lakes with different kind of colors and strange, I'm guessing, mining, tailing things. And it's just wild. It's like some of these things. I did show Dr. Longo a little bit of one of those videos where, yeah, it's just be like up on top of a really thin mesa out, say, in Arizona or Utah or something. It's like, wait a second, why is there this square up on top of this very hard to get to place? It's bizarre stuff, but so thanks to Gary Shonan for bringing that to the world. And I doubt he's got 32,000. Maybe though. I don't know of any other content that he put out, but man, yeah. So Old World, Florida. I tried to turn him onto that, but I don't know. I'm supposed to send him links. I don't want to bomb him with a bunch of stuff, but I do. I want to send him a few things because, you know, we should be aware of each other's stuff. And yeah, he does question the shape of the earth. And let's see. Walker's belief in squatting rights and ownership. You're 43. I am 52. Walker is somebody who I guess I've met him through the gem shows over the years. And then if it's the same Walker, Dave has linked up him. If it's the same Walker, that dude, he goes into the mines in far off lands, far from me. Yeah, and so, okay, so squatters' rights. That's something, you know, so here's the deal. To be considered a squatter means that you're so-called trespassing on someone else's property, right? But in order for that to be someone else's property, they must hold title and deed or whatever to the property. Now, where did they get that? Because chances are they're not indigenous. And so if they're getting it from some crown corporation or whatever and then calling it their own and telling other people that they can't utilize, can't stay still for a moment. Now I understand, or I comprehend, let's say. Understand, that's one of those tricky words. Stand under, understand. I comprehend that if somebody's putting their life energy into caring for a space, and then someone else comes around and just leaves all their trash there, and oh, there's little fishies. Can you see these? Where'd you go? Anyhow, yeah, so somebody else says, all right, I'm just going to start staying here now too, and they destroy whatever work went into it. And you know, I could see some trouble brewing from that. But I'm reminded right now of, I heard this native person speaking, like basically the story goes like, I'm gonna picture this is in Wyoming maybe, and the native guy is so-called trespassing on somebody, some rancher dude, let's say a Caucasian person, who's claiming the land and says that his ancestors fought for the land, and so it's his. And then the native dude is like, all right, well, I'll fight you for it right now. And then kind of end the story with that. So, I mean, if that's the attitude that it's going to be, it's just whoever's got the strongest arm gets to stay someplace. that's going to be problematic in the long run, because as people age and they're not able to defend themselves, I mean, I suppose that's why we have a system of law, right? But then if the law is just going to be twisted and subverted, yeah, I don't know. How do we all find space? Because right now I'm technically, somebody could say I'm trespassing right now, right? Because we're not supposed to be in the water. No problem with being on the water, right? If you've got a little boat, then you can do that. But for me to be here, maybe they're afraid I'm gonna wash my hair in the water. It just doesn't look good for people who are, spending millions of dollars on their homes to look out. But honestly, they're not from here. They could go back to wherever they came from. But chances are, wherever they came from has gotten the ass kicking already. So let me see, where are we at? Walker's beliefs. Yeah, so squatting, okay, that's attached to a concept called adverse possession. And I haven't claimed adverse possession. I don't like that the word adverse is there, because like adversarial point of view. But adverse possession would be that if there's an abandoned piece of land and then you start making improvements on it, after a certain amount of time, depending on where it is, usually it's like 7 years or something, 9 years. But then you can make a claim. You'd be like, dude, Jack Spratt may own the title, but I'm the one who's actually here planting the trees, cleaning up the garbage, digging the canals. And so functionally, I'm claiming adverse possession, right? So that's a step up from squatting, because squatting basically means that you don't have a toilet, you squat to poop or pee wherever you're going to be. And so it's kind of a derogatory way of saying that somebody's existing on land that they don't hold title to. Now, in ancient times, who could make a claim onto what area? A lot of people just passed through, and different tribes shared, or they fought it out. Say who could fish where, who can hunt. But generally, I think through all the ups and downs of the human story, people could live in places together without constantly having to assert their dominance. That must get exhausting. And so, yeah, like these guys with these houses over here, clearly, I mean, it's not clear, but I'm going to say that 99% of them are from the north. They're from places like New York, maybe Michigan. They're not from South Florida, because people from South Florida traditionally lived in pretty simple places, not multi-million-dollar mansions. Police are not peacemakers. Police are not peacemakers. They are, they're policy enforcers, but they have dual roles. Okay, so it's a picture they have, even though you see them, they might just have one hat, but for illustrative purposes, we'll say they have different hats. One hat would be as a peacekeeper, and one hat would be as a policy enforcer. So when an officer comes up to you or I, we have to distinguish what role are they in. We can't just assume anything. We have to speak to them. Now you can read a lot from body language and stuff, but my experience is that even if it's not spoken, if you comprehend that they have different roles and you could keep them in one role, say as a peacekeeper, they'll be generally happy to not have to get into the policy enforcement role. If they see that you're mature and respectful, um, you know, generally they'll be glad to go about their business. Um, but of course, there's some who just want to exert dominance, and since they're frustrated with their lives and their bosses or whatever, it's tempting to take it out on the people who don't know. Well, because basically they're considering themselves as they're like, if you picture it this way, if you're the king and you have your knights, and the knights think, well, this king or queen is not really together in their mind anymore. So they have either abandoned their estate or they are not fit to rule. Then the knights are gonna potentially, boss around the king, and the king is just gonna be a figurehead, but they won't have functional power. The knights will. And so, a lot of these guys, they're knights of Columbus and what have you, and that fraternity that they've got goes way back, probably to the Templars. So essentially, they're as trustees administering our affairs for us, because we are seen as either not being mentally fit, and here's where the term minority comes in, and I've spoken about it before, other people have as well. When they say about minorities, it's not about population numbers. And so if somebody's got dark skin and they either refer to themselves or are referred to by others as being a minority, it's not that there's larger percentages of other people that don't look like them. It's about a mental capacity. Like when you're under 18, you're considered a minor. It's because you have not fully developed to take responsibility for your own life. In our society, there was a time not very long ago where 12, 13, 14 years old, these people had full control of their lives, could even be commanding a ship, if you want to research that. It's not unheard of. And if you look at what children were learning in the 1800s, by 8th grade, they knew more than a lot of people in college now. And of course, since the Rockefeller education system went in, Frederick T. Gates, I mentioned these guys a couple of times, you see what they did to American society, and then by extension, what was, projected around the world. There's been a definite dumbing down. People aren't taught civics. And so these concepts that I'm touching on seem really kind of out there for a lot of people, but honestly, it's pretty basic stuff. Let's see, what do we got? Aren't supposed to swim there. You like it better. I'm missing what that. You say they don't do any good any longer. Don't need them. only met like 2 nice ones in your life. Thought I was grown when you were 10. You may be. Yeah, and if you knew how to trap or fish, hunt, you could sustain yourself, then by 10 years old, maybe. But if you had anyone that shared knowledge of the basics of civics, Dusty, don't start going off. Yeah, that's the thing. She lets me know. She's like, I know where you are. I'm going to go and get into trouble now. Come here. It's good for you. Okay, so staying on track. So we got adverse possession versus squatting. Now, it's not talked about, and I don't know how to really make inroads on this, but I'm not trying to claim adverse possession on anything. But to me, it's all my land, and these people that's good. They're able to find spots to make themselves some shelter or whatever, but can they claim any more than the square inches around their domicile, right? And domicile, that's another one of those funny words. It's all mine, and I'm happy to share it with you. This land is your land, this land is my land. End of story. Now, am I going to try to roll up onto these people's yard and say, this is my land too? It's pointless, really. I'm not trying to explain this over and over to everybody that I meet, because people all have their different concepts and ideas change over time. But essentially right now we're in a stage where people think you have to get a deed or a title from a title company and don't really think about where they got their access to these. Eventually it goes back to Aboriginal title, which can only be granted by the native people of the area. And so what's happened in a lot of places is Aboriginal title gets parsed up and then sold off to strangers or whatever, traded away. Famous story about a Manhattan being traded away for a box full of beads and trinkets or whatever. And like I mentioned before, a lot of it came down to, well, we fought for this fair and square. Oh, okay, really? So be prepared for the next fight. And so then we have the arms race where people fight to own a piece of land, and then before you know it, it's an abandoned property, and the people's heirs are not interested. They're off doing something else. And so then somebody else could just come and stay there anyway. It just seems like a weird waste of energy, finance, mental real estate. You've only got so much that you can have in your mind. And no matter how hard you try, you're going to forget things every day. And so this is happening on a large scale. We're constantly forgetting. And with that, there's room for new kinds of thoughts, new arrangements. It might not be that long before, the next generation or two, they come up with completely different ideas of land stewardship that we can't even imagine yet. Let's see. Kevin, welcome. Blake is an anarchist. He gets it. Yeah, well, anarchy, that's another one of those tricky words. When I was growing up, an anarchist was somebody who spray painted on the wall and, maybe even smashed bottles and shit like that. And to me, that's kind of immature type of anarchy. I think that maybe, Blake, what you're describing a state of mind where there's no monarch above you. right? Can we agree about that? There's no king or queen that you have to bow down fealty and what's the term, kowtow. You're your own king, right? So if it's that kind of anarchy. But I would recommend though that when you do interact with these agents and officers, you don't have to speak it, but in your mind, just speak it in your mind that you're the king and they are your knights and they're just checking on you. They just want to make sure that the king can still rule. Otherwise, we're talking about pirates. And if they are just no coercion by force, exactly. Yeah, because they're trained in using pain compliance to get you to abide by either a ordinance, code. What are these things? Gosh, I'm so out of it. I haven't eaten and I barely drank any water today. Freshen up. Yeah, codes, that's the big thing. A lot of the officers are just there to enforce policy, and they themselves aren't really even that interested in what they're doing, but they do like the paycheck. They want to keep their jet skis, their pool tables. Am I a lost boy? I won't grow up and become a pirate. No, it's not that you would be the pirate. It's that these fellows who wear a badge on their chest, on their shoulder, no, a badge on the chest, and a piece of iron at their hip, and then they start telling you to do jumping jacks and demand. Well, here's essentially anytime that one of these guys comes up to you and says XYZ, a reasonable response is that an order or a request? Now, if there's an emergency, then you are actually bound to, let's say, obey, to follow their guidance because they are trained in handling those situations, and we may not be. So is this an order or a request? It's an order? All right. Well, if I'm going to take your orders, then it's only fair that I also give you the bill, because just like when you go to get goods and services, you place your order, you're expected to then pay the bill. Now, nobody ever tells them that if they're giving orders. So you could say, is this an order or a request? Well, if it's a request, then that's up to you. Okay, thank you for letting me know about your request. I'll take that under advisement, and I'll still decide, no, I'm going to keep my feet here in the water. But I appreciate your concern. Right. So that's some of the ways of looking at how to interact with policy enforcers. Now, is it worth getting some of these guys aggravated and then getting bonked on the head or worse? Maybe, maybe not. Every situation is different. But the fact is there is a chain of command, and that they can't just go around giving orders willy-nilly and just expect everybody to do everything that they say. Or this term like, I'm the law, that's why. No, that's not how it works. And there's no harmony in any of those administrative structures. What they are is people and persons, right? People taking on the roles of persons, right? Because a person is like a two-dimensional version of yourself, right? You're we the people, but you have a person. And so that's represented on your driver's license. Of course, with a driver's license, you're not actually driving the metal box with the wheels. You're driving your own vessel, which is your flesh and blood. That is what you are supposedly transporting. And so the Department of Transportation, it's about the documents associated. It's much more than just the wheels on the road. Okay, so I'm getting kind of, I'm losing my train of thought, but essentially, I lost it. Let's see. But to answer your question, am I a lost boy? I am not necessarily a lost boy, but I am an heir to a lost estate, if that makes sense. So I am dispossessed of my land, and I'm basically like a feather in the wind. Do I think Earth changes are coming, like global catastrophic Earth changes? Oh, the Earth is changing every day, and I expect that it will continue to change. I don't think I'm standing on a ball anymore. I used to think that. But whatever this thing is, it's going to change. And now it gets tinkering, where we have scientists pushing buttons and levers and manipulating the conditions using scalar energy or what have you. So some of the changes are Earth's changes, and then other changes are kind of prodded along and encouraged. Because catastrophe capitalism is real. Not supposed to even need a driver's license unless doing commerce. You are correct. Trick is, do you have to explain that to every person that you meet, and every person who's, again, that word person, everyone who has taken an oath? Oh, then you also have to figure out, okay, this person in front of me that's either giving me orders or requests or whatever, they are bound by an oath. That is part of their chain of command. So their oath is supposed to be to we the people. Now, what winds up happening is you have these fraternal orders, and they have oaths to themselves, to their organizations. Their oaths are not necessarily to we the people. And so here you have where you just get different kinds of levels going on, where you might think that you're talking one language, and then they're talking a completely different language with words like understand, some of the other ones we just went through. A lot of they call it legalese. I think that's a fair enough way. It looks like English, but it actually is not English. Do I think Earth is an oblate spheroid like football shape? Absolutely not. Or spaceship Earth simulation. I'm closer to a simulation, and even though the term flat earther is so derogatory, but that's closest to, I think, what we got going on here. The way that I see it, it's a stacked, we've got stacked densities, and so down here at the bottom level, the most dense. Above that is less dense, and above that, even less dense. And then higher up is past these clouds, it's going to get less and less density. Okay, so in order for us to achieve those heights, we would have to energetically change, right? So we're calling that heaven, or it used to be called the ether until Einstein came around, and then he kind of convinced everyone that there's no ether. All right, well, 100 years later,
Yeah, it's looking like there's the ether. Not an oblate spheroid. No stars under our feet. The stars are not gas balls. They are electrical. They are fixed. The ones that are not fixed have their own qualities to them, and it's still a mystery to me. But no, I'm not on the ball. I'm on the level. And yeah, and if you think I'm a fool for having those thoughts, that's cool. Just keep in mind that I did used to believe that we're on a spinning ball. So having flexibility with your thoughts is always good, and be careful of beliefs. You know, belief, right? BELIEF. All right, so lie is right there in the middle of belief. Um, yeah, but no oblate spheroids. That's ridiculous. That reminds me of Neil deGrasse Tyson. No, that's just nonsense that they teach children. You have never seen a full picture of the Earth. It's always been a computer image or a painting or some kind of artistic rendering. They say that a lot of the stuff is composites, but when I was little, I grew up totally thinking that the picture of the Earth that they sent from the Apollo mission, I just accepted that. But then later on, it doesn't really take that much research, although a lot of stuff does get buried. And I was mentioning this, coming back around to this thought, with Dr. Longo, I was mentioning YouTubers who all their content's been removed, but say in like 2014 to 2016, there was some amazing, well thought out content, and now you can't even find it. And it's like, wow. So if you didn't save those videos back then, I guess I have a hard drive somewhere. You only truly believe what you experience yourself. That's a pretty good way to go. And of course, you have to keep in mind that there are optical illusions, and the mind can only take in so much at a time. And so that's basically how illusionists do their work, is that they play around with those edges of uh, our stimuli, our intake of sensory information. And so, some of the most professional magicians that you're going to come across are not going to be doing pulling rabbit out of the hat. They're going to be working in politics, in governance, um, in policy making. Like, that's where the real magicians work their craft, statecraft. It's like a higher step than witchcraft. And so, these people have been at it. They've been going hard on it for a long time, and they share information with the people in their clubs. And I'm not in those clubs. And so I'm kind of having to put together a cobbled version of reality. Um, Pole shift. Corona mass ejection. Well, whenever I've looked at images of the sun and those those arcing swirls of fire and stuff, that's cool, but that's all digital. That's not actually real. Those are representations. They're taken from data sets and then blended through a freaking supercomputer grinder, just churning out a bunch of stuff, and eventually they come out with cool looking pictures. But when you look at it, you can really see how it's just patterns that repeat, and you're taking it on faith that that is actually what happened to that thing up there. But honestly, no, I don't believe it. Coronal mass ejection, maybe. Yeah, there could be solar flares. Sure, maybe if I don't know what that thing is really, honestly. Um, but there comes a time where you stop taking for granted everything that gets said to you about stuff that you can experience yourself. You were 14 and saw David Copperfield live. It was awesome. Right. So you saw David Copperfield, but you know that whatever he was doing, that it wasn't real, right? He's not making the Statue of Liberty disappear. He's just turning the platform or whatever so that you're facing a different direction. And oh, amazing. Well, whatever it is that people like him do, they're not changing reality. Those kinds of magicians do not want attention. They are not interested in having an audience. They are much more comfortable with being behind the scenes and we feel like the state will take away the power grid in the next 2 or 3 years. You're saying he flew. David Copperfield flew? Well, then David Copperfield should train us all on how to fly. Because I'm tired of buying gas and paying the robber barons a good chunk of my estate just now, did he really fly? Was there wires? I don't know. I mean, honestly, do you think that he flew? Because if he knows how to fly, then I don't need to be flying. I just that's how life goes, right? You heard of the 12 monkeys or 100 monkeys or whatever. Once one part of the species picks up the new characteristic, the new trait, the new advantageous modality, then it's broadcasted across the spectrum of that species, right? And so if David Copperfield is flying like these birds, then why am I? Is it a deficiency in myself? Now, in my dreams I fly, or float, this is more likely. Sometimes I fly with my feet out in front of me, like I'm in an easy chair or whatever, lazy boy chair, and I'll just be carried along like this. Who is it? John Smith's invisible hand just carrying me along. I'm ready to be flying. I don't need to be on the ground anymore. Let's see what we got. You can fly, but only in your astral body. Yeah, exactly. And your astral body is real to me, brother. Yeah, so it looked like he flew realistically. Yeah, I got excited years ago when I heard about that there was these yogis who could fly, right? They have some kind of flying meditation. And then when I finally saw it, they were just basically just cross-legged sitting and then flapping their legs and kind of like doing a sit jump. It's like, dude, really? This is it after all the freaking thousands of years of enlightenment and meditation. This is what we got as clowns just flopping across the mat. That's not right. Now, people do take pictures of some strange stuff in the sky. I don't know if they still do it. In the early 2000s, 2015, I was seeing a bunch of videos of weird looking characters up in the sky. And I've definitely seen strange things with lights floating around. And so is it possible? Maybe, but yeah, I think we have to change energetically if we're going to start moving up. We're not going to be doing it in rockets. All that stuff is a joke. The radio told me that was it Elon that they had some failed rocket thing, and what do they call it? Like they had some funny euphemism for like I can't even do it justice. Basically, a way of saying, yeah, it blew up, or we blew it up early. It was an unexpected disassembly, or just more nonsense words. And to the majority of people, I think they're just going to accept it. They're going to think, yeah, that's real. These guys are really landing rockets straight down onto their footpad. And that just all looks like CGI to me. Maybe a rocket goes up and then it starts to go sideways and they just dump it in the water. And there's probably areas of the ocean that you're not allowed to go because that's where all the rockets are dumped. And yeah, CubeSats and all this stuff. All the satellites that you think that are in the sky are really just antennas. Those are, like in the technical language, a satellite would be, antennas scattered. Those are the satellites. And then we've got some satellites that are on balloons that are high enough that you can't even see them. And then, there's no satellites flying over you in space. I just don't think that is correct. I think that they're pulling a fast one on us. Because I lose my cell reception when I dip down into a hill or into a valley between two hills. I lose the cell phone. So is the satellite not still up there above me? Or is it that the antenna doesn't reach the signal to where I'm at? I drop down below where it spreads. I mean, it's not that hard to figure this shit out. It's just when we stop believing everything that we're told, then we kind of grow up with that. But if you want to think that there's satellites up there, that's cool. Let's see. Oh, covering the microphone. How did I lose my estate? Well, it's not just me, but I lost my estate because I was taken from a birth family and then put in the home of another family who actually was super cool and really gave me a lot of love and encouragement. But that's a different family. And so whatever the first family, whatever hopes, dreams, aspirations that they had were shunted by the state. And that's one way. But I think that even aside from that, specifically about myself, we are all children of a lost estate. If you do not have access to your share of the nation's wealth, right? Because that's how this place was set up. That's how the finance system works. You are born, you fall out from between your mom's legs, you drop down onto this soil. The government that was set up depends on the life energy of these newborns to give credit to their fiat system, right? So all the money, everything we call money, those little fiat notes, it's no longer backed by gold. It's backed by our life energy and our future hypothecated earnings, right? So they say, okay, take this fellow here, born in this zip code, to this family. We expect this level of education. Gonna reach XYZ in the financial system. Okay, we're gonna say, let's put a bond for such and such amount. And then they start trading those bonds. And your life energy is the backing of their commercial system. You likely do not have access to that, and that is being administered on your behalf, supposedly. It's being administered, but is it really on your behalf if you never have access to it? And those bonds get traded around and around and around. And it's for your benefit, but you're sleeping under a freaking box. And then the administrators, the trustees, they're living in that place right there, right? So, talking about lost estate, yeah, you might be a child of a lost estate as well, and you probably are, because we're just not taught that in civics. We're taught social studies rather than civics, right? I don't know what's going on now in the education system. Now I think it's all just about gender stuff, right? Gender constructs. I don't even know if they're teaching social studies anymore. It was social studies. They would teach us about labor movements in the past and the struggles between we the people and overreach of authority. But I really can't even imagine that any of that is taught these days. Ooh, the wind's picking up. I'm an hour and 12 minutes into this. Amazing. Blocking the wind. You knew I was a dreamer. I am a dreamer. This is a dream right now. It's just a really convincing one. Yeah, so I came here. I was gonna take a little dip. Maybe I should do that before it gets too cold. So hang with me, everybody. Now comes the next part of the show. Let's see how to do this. Knock that over. Hopefully you got a good view. I can't see what this is looking at. All right. Woo! It was warmer before. It's just not as fun without the sun. Still lost though. All right, everybody. Oh, bad doggy. Guess that's a good time to. Yeah, totally refreshing. I'm gonna go dry off. Thank you for joining. An hour and 15 minutes. Check back later. I'll come back somewhere. Oh, the owner of the biggest no-kill animal shelter in Michigan. His father has 21,000 square feet, 8 bathroom, 7 bedroom, under the ground bunker, 25-minute drive southeast of here. What does he know that we don't? He knows how to administer bonds and trusts, either his own, and I guess the temptation is that once you know how to do it for yourself, and you realize that there's other people who have abandoned their estates or never even knew that they had an estate to have access to. So it's got to be so tempting to just start stacking up files of abandoned estates, and then just like I was saying earlier with a piece of land that's abandoned, and then, say I come along and I start planting trees or whatever, and I just make improvements on that land from bare dirt to, say, a forest, an orchard. They're essentially doing the same thing without paperwork. They're like, well, here's some abandoned estate, abandoned paperwork, and the owner, or excuse me, the rightful heir is behind the dumpster smoking crack. So I'm going to administer this estate on their behalf. And it's probably better that they don't know about it so that they won't interfere with their own, they basically, and especially you add in that term minority, and then, so it's like the age of minority, age of majority. Nice chatting. Like, why the bunker, though? The bunker, essentially, it's because, I say that word a lot, essentially. In essence, the bunker is because he has a fear of losing whatever he's worked so hard for, and having hordes of people who don't really work then saying, oh, I want access to that too. Now, maybe his work was nothing more than shuffling papers around, and maybe he's pulling scams and doesn't deserve his bunker, or perhaps his grandpa left him a plot of land and a shovel, and he started digging years ago, and now he's got a 21,000 square foot, 8 bathroom bunker, but honestly, that's a lot to maintain. And it doesn't sound very fun. Can you imagine, like, how long are you going to stay in a bunker and not see the sunshine? That doesn't sound cool to me. For a little while, I'd like to have some bunkers around the land. Go visit this one and that one. But, and if everybody actually built into the ground, probably would fare better in a lot of these storms, because these places are going to just you're just going to get wasted when the big stuff come. Whether that's from a coronal mass ejection or whatever. You ever watch the Thunderbolts project? Do you see what those guys talk about? They're into the electric universe. So even though those guys definitely don't think this place is flat, I do think that they're onto something with the electric nature of the upper reaches. I think even the term dielectric plane is used when referring to this thing down here. So it's still a mystery. I don't know. I'm chilly. We'll touch on this again. I really thank you so much for joining, and thanks for people who popped in. Right on, Blake. Have a very nice day, and be kind. Rewind.